At the end of the day, if you are a unit owner and you're looking at an increase in your assessments or special assessment, the first thing you're going to do is question their authority, their competency, their honesty. If they don't communicate it why it's needed well enough, again, go back to communication and transparency and openness. My only option is to distrust. And once I distrust, it's hard to get that back.
HOA Insights is brought to you by 6 companies that care about board members: Association Insights Marketplace, Association Reserves, Community Financials, Kevin Davis Insurance Services, HOA Invest, and the Inspectors of Election. You'll find links to their website and social media in the show notes.
Hi, I'm Robert Nordlund of Association Reserves.
And I'm Kevin Davis of Kevin Davis Insurance Services, and this is HOA Insights, where we promote common sense
for common areas. Well, welcome to episode 125, where we're again speaking with insurance expert and regular co-host Kevin Davis. This episode was inspired by our recent episode 110 on understanding board financials. And Kevin reached out to me and wanted to do a follow-up to that program, helping our audience to understand the serious consequences community associations face when board members and managers fail to understand their financial statements. Board members are responsible to run the affairs of the association, so it's no excuse to say that you don't understand the financial statements. There's a real cost of being unaware or oblivious of the financial state of the association. Every board member, not just the treasurer, needs to understand how their association is doing financially. Last week's episode, 124, featured a great interview with Jason Gamel, the CEO of ARDA, the Trade Association for the Timeshare and Vacation Ownership Industries. And just like with so many other areas of life, it really helps to understand something by stepping back and looking from a different angle. And that's what I enjoyed in my discussion with Jason. The ability to look at what being a board member is like from the timeshare and vacation ownership side of things. Now, if you missed that episode or any prior episode, take a moment after today's program to listen from our podcast website, hoainsights.org, or watch from our YouTube channel. But better yet, subscribe from any of the major podcast platforms so you don't miss any future episodes. Those of you watching on YouTube can see the HOA Insights mugs that Kevin and I both have that we got from the merch store, which you can browse through from our hoainsights.org website or the link in our show notes. You'll find we have some great free stuff there like board member Zoom backgrounds and some specialty items for sale like mugs. So go to the merch store, download a free Zoom background, take a moment, look around, find the mug that you'd like. And if you're the 10th person to email me at podcast@reservesday.com mentioning episode 125 mug giveaway, we'll ship that mug to you free of charge. We enjoy hearing from you, responding to the issues you're facing at your association. So if you have a hot topic, a crazy story, and we get a few of those, or a question that you'd like us to address, you can always contact us at 805-203-3130 or email us at podcast@reservesday.com. But today's episode comes from Simon from Portland, who asked, I'm not good with numbers. I'm the rules guy. Is it okay for our treasurer to be the one handling all the budget and financial issues? So, Kevin, a good question. What do you say to
our
Simon?
friend Simon?
Yes.
For Simon. You know, when somebody asks a question like that, you know they know something is wrong. Okay? It's just that...
Well, or they're nervous. They're nervous. Something might be wrong.
Let's assume Simon is the president of his association. And every month he gets a financial statement and he says, Michael, treasurer guy, listen, please handle all this stuff because guess what? My job is to enforce the rules. I'm a rules guy. I make sure that people take their trash cans in every single day. I make sure that the pools are kept. I make sure they're not parked in visitors parking. But Michael, you handle all this financial stuff. And then guess what? Michael's been handling for years. And guess what? Everybody's happy with Michael. All of a sudden one day, Michael's gone. He disappeared. And guess what? What happened to Michael? So I don't know. I heard he moved or something happened to him, but we can't find him. And guess what else you can't find? The reserve account. The reserve account is gone with Michael. And that's the problem having one person to handle it. And Robert, that's always been the issue. However, today, it's a greater concern for me. And when I heard what episode 110 I heard in him that you have to be aware of the financials. You have to understand them. And he never said why, what happens. It's a cost associated more today than ever before. But today we have incivility. We talked about the lack of civility, the lack of interaction. We suspect everybody as being dishonest. We suspect everybody as being incompetent. We're looking at living in community association through a distorted lens these days. We don't trust. There's a lack of trust. And guess what? The not trust, the money part of it is significant. And that's when I heard 110. And please, if you go back to podcast 110, and you'll learn, you'll get the basic understanding of the financial statement. But today, that's why I was really concerned about it. So Simon, today more than ever, you have to understand that financial statement more than you ever understood it before.
Let's talk about a couple of things. There's one thing about being an expert, and we're not saying everyone has to be an expert, but you need to understand. And I know some very sharp people. I know a doctor friend of mine. I know an attorney friend of mine that are just wizards in their area of expertise, but they just don't know numbers. That's just not their strength. So we're not talking about a heavy lift of becoming an expert. We're talking about understanding, does things balance out? Are we ahead of budget or behind budget? Those are simple concepts to understand. That's what we're talking about here, right?
Exactly. You have to put yourself in a defensible position when somebody is looking you in the eye. If your next door neighbor is saying, how could you let this happen? And you have a choice. You can say, guess what? I reviewed the financial statement. I know the income for the month of June was down, and I know the reason why it was down, and we're working on it. That's a defendable position. Versus, well, I don't know. I got to check and see. I haven't looked at financials in a while, and the guy gave me all the stuff, and I really don't understand numbers because I'm the guy who has to enforce the rules. Which one's defendable?
And there's so many side effects of that. If you say, I've seen it, and by the way, yeah, our budget is a little bit behind, and here in June or July or August, you should already start preparing for the expectation that we're going to have higher homeowner assessments next year. That's just being conversational. Yes. That's having an awareness. And they say, do we have enough money in the reserve fund for the roof project? And the answer is yes or no, or maybe. You want to be able to answer that question rather than, I don't know. When you told me about you wanted to go down the path of this episode, I started to think back when I was the president of my association, and I honestly got a chill up my spine thinking, what if someone asked me, how could that have happened?
Yeah.
I would never want to answer, well, I just trusted Pam, or I trusted, in this case, Michael. Isn't that why we have dual signature check responsibilities?
That's why you have all responsibilities, just to keep, in reality, what you want to do is keep an honest person honest. Okay? Yeah. Let's go back to Michael, for example. Let's say Michael intends to do well. Let's say every week Michael does it, and all of a sudden he makes a slip up. He makes a mistake. And guess what? Nobody caught him, and nobody said anything.
Ooh,
and then what happens to Michael? He goes down a slippery slope. Michael's not a dishonest guy in the beginning, and most people are not. They go, okay, I got it. But then all of a sudden, if nobody looks over his shoulder, nobody say, okay, I do the monthly reconciliation. I just make sure. My job is, as the president, to make sure that Michael's doing his job to keep Michael honest. Even if we just look at, you have employees. Let's say all of a sudden I have an employee. Let's say I don't look at their financial statement every month in terms of their expense report. And they go out and I said, hey, you can fly, but you can't go first class. But I don't look at it, go every once in a while, okay, hey, you didn't put what class? Okay, that means keep them on target. We don't want to make honest people dishonest. And you do that by just ignoring everything.
You got to keep your eye on the ball. Things can slip through, and well, I was thinking on my phone and all the different apps you and I have, there's now two-factor authentication, just double checking that kind of stuff. And again, we're not talking about being an expert. We're just understanding, are the numbers going up or are the numbers going down? And show me where, remind me, is that the balance sheet? Is that the budget? Michael, show me which one that is again. And Michael can show you, and you can say, oh yeah, okay, now I see. What was that last month? Remind me, just getting an idea of, is that moving in the good direction? Is it moving in the bad direction? And if it's moving in the bad direction, then your next question is, well, do we need to do anything about it?
Yeah.
And Michael can say, well, whatever. We pay our insurance premium 3 times a year, so it will rebound. Or we're heading into the summer months where we water more, so we're going to have higher landscaping or higher water expenses. Find out what it is so you can have that conversation, be conversationally capable.
That's what we're saying. The idea is not to be an expert, it's to be capable. If Simon is capable, if Simon says to Michael, I don't understand what happened here. And Simon is not going to be an expert. But what happens is when he looks at the next door neighbor and say, listen, I talked to Michael about the financials. He explained to me that this is going on, that's going on. I can't believe he lied to me when he was just honest to me. Now, when you say that, guess what happens? That's a defensible position. You're defending yourself. I did my job as the president of the association. I looked over his shoulder, but he lied to me, okay? He said X or Y, or he lied about the financial statement, about the income, Now, he didn't steal the money. He made a mistake himself. But it was his mistake, and he either A, mentions or doesn't mention. But from Simon's point of view, he wants to be a defensible position. He wants to appear competent because guess what? In the world we live in today, because we live in a community association now that people lack trust. They lack trust in their experts. They lack trust in their board, in their management company. They just don't trust them. And so you have to appear competent all the time.
I was just thinking about in the world, in politics, the last few elections that we've had have been contentious. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah.
You're right. There's more incivility. And so are we, and we've talked about this, Julie is a strong advocate or proponent about building community. And you want to be transparent. You want to be clear. You want to be open about things. And like we've talked about here today, having conversational capability with the numbers is where you are able to build trust at the association. Because I think, as you say, the natural thing right now we see are people worried. What's happening? Are you an idiot? Are you a thief? Are you a fool? All those are bad things, and that's what they're wondering.
And guess what? It's not that hard to do it. Go back to Simon. If Simon just learned some basic things, that you look at a financial statement and you have a income and you have a balance sheet. Balance, that's a balance. The income statement, you got to have more income than expenses, okay? And take a few minutes to look at them, because when Simon appears competent, okay, and he appears competent to the people who live there as a president of the association, then guess what? Life is a little bit easier for Simon. As opposed to, I don't understand, or guess what? Michael handles it all. And can you imagine going before the board of directors or a unit owner or anybody and say, guess what? Michael handles it all. My job's to enforce the rules. It doesn't pass that test. And again, we live in that world where it's a distorted lens that we just don't feel comfortable. And we don't feel so comfortable about society. It's a society thing right now. We lack comfort. So, and you mentioned transparency. It is so clear that if we're transparent and say, guess what? Here are the numbers. Here is Michael to explain the numbers to all of us. And if Michael explains them well, guess what? Michael, it's great. Let's say Michael starts to stutter. We start to be concerned about Michael as the board president, as the vice president, as the rest of the board. We say, Michael, we're kind of concerned right now, an outsider to come in and review those financials. It's comfort. We all have to appear comfortable. And the problem is, like with Simon, what happens if we don't feel comfort in a board member or community association? Do we go forward and say, explain it to me? Or do you take a step back and go, well, I assume he's doing the right job?
And then, Kevin, you got me thinking about two more aspects of this. One is the team aspect, where a healthy board will speak as one, will be unified. Obviously, there's going to be some different opinions, and not every vote is going to be unanimous. There's a lot of votes that are reveal more or less, or conservative or aggressive, or that kind of stuff, and I'm fine. But you need to be united as a team and at least be facing the reality of, our collections are suffering this year. We have a delinquencies problem. You need to be all on board with that. And then the whole idea of having a pipeline of new board members. If you are reliant on this Michael guy, then are you looking for another Michael guy, another CPA, another bookkeeper, something like that? And that's a hard board member to replace when you're looking so narrowly. And so if you develop more general skills and people helping each other, all of a sudden it becomes easier to have a pipeline of new board members who keep the association healthy, and you don't get embedded secrets.
The most important part of when we operate as a team. So now we as a board have talked to Michael, and you got Simon and all the rest of us getting together, and now the board understands it, and we support Michael.
Well, let me slow you down now. We support Michael. We as a board. I love that word.
And it's so important because we as a board, now all of a sudden we go out to the unit. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to agree. Doesn't mean they're going to like us. It still may even sue us. But guess what happens though? We have a defensible position. So if we get sued, because guess what? They don't like the special assessment that we pass. We went through the numbers. We have Michael go through the numbers. He's an expert. We all agree. We all understand it. And we go out there and say, we need a special assessment guy. No, you don't have the authority. You did it too late. You don't have, it's against the civil code. You can't do it. We're going to file a lawsuit. Now, that lawsuit, as the president of the association and as my group, guess what? We're okay because we have insurance to pick it up. And guess what? And me as an insurance provider say, guess what? I'm okay because you have a defendable position. It may cost $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to defend you. But let's say all of a sudden you're in that same board meeting, and all of a sudden you had that meeting, and we all blame Michael. And we say, hey, guess what? That's Michael's job. And I can't believe that Michael did this. Now, guess what that claim is going to cost? $300,000 or $400,000. When there's no defendable position in there, you're talking about a $30,000 claim to $300,000, $400,000 claim. It's as simple as that. We're defending it. You're not even paying it. We're just defending it because guess what happens now? I live in unit number 3.
Okay.
Guess what? Robert, you live in unit number 10. We're going to talk to each other. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to talk to the next door neighbor. Now you have 15 unit owners there who said, guess what? You're going to have a special assessment. Okay. And I can't even get Michael on the phone to tell me why it's needed. And Simon, you're not telling me why it's needed because you're telling me to talk to Michael. Nobody can reach Michael because he's at work. I don't trust what you're doing, and I don't believe you have the authority to do it. They won't say you're incompetent. Okay. Well, they may. They may go that far and say you're incompetent, but don't have to. We'll say you don't have the authority to pass it. Now, if you are a committed board, the we board, guess what? We understand your concerns, okay? But we had to do it, and we need to do it for these reasons.
Yeah.
And then you walk away. You don't have to debate, do you have the authority, not the authority? This is what we've done as a board. It's defendable. Let's take us to court. We're okay. And you guess what? The insurance will look at you and go, okay, you did your job. You did your job as a board of directors. Guess what? I don't have a problem defending you. But if Simon blames Michael, or Michael's gone with the reserve account, guess what happens now? Now a $30,000 claim goes into $300,000, $400,000, including the reserve account that he stole.
So there's different kind of costs. There's a cost of damage to the community, the damage to the board, the damage to maybe home values, the damage to trust. Boy, how long it takes to rebuild trust, the damage to the health of the association, and then there's a dollar damage. Just a lot of aspects to it. Okay, well, we have some other things that we want to cover, but looking at the time, let's take a quick break now to hear from one of our generous sponsors, after which we'll be back with more common sense for common areas and speaking more about the cost of not knowing what the numbers are at your association.
Numbers matter, and we need numbers like game scores and bank balances to let us know where we stand. The same is true for your association. Is yours thriving or struggling? Let me introduce you to the FiPho Health Score. Like your own personal FICO credit score, now in one simple number, owners and boards can learn the combined financial, physical, and operational health of their association. The good news, it's free at ourfipho.com. That's our, FIPHO.com. Learn how your association measures up.
And we're back. Well, during the break, Kevin and I were speaking more about this, and it comes back to what Kevin has talked so many times about, the 3 primary roles that the board members need to fulfill. And Kevin, can you go down that path?
And this is interesting because if the board of directors of condos understand that if they do these 3 things really well, that is enforce the rules, maintain the association, okay, and handle the financials, okay, in a proper way.
Yeah.
That's it. every board meeting, are we doing those three things? And again, we're talking about in a time where people who live in these community associations are looking through the distorted lenses. If you feel confident enough to know that you're doing those three things really well, you're in pretty decent shape. Now, the one key area, though, is that people's money they take seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, I parked in visitors parking. Okay, well, all right, okay, so that's not, and the trees have been trimmed. You have to trim those trees. But when we start talking about money, special assessments, increasing assessments, you haven't paid your assessments, that means, guess what? Now all of a sudden, wait a minute, do you really know what you're doing? Are you really doing a good job? It raises that level. That level is different when you talk about financials. So you have to have a basic understanding of the financial. You don't have to be an expert. And I assume with Simon that Michael there who handles the money is a CPA or an accountant or something. That's why he believes that they can do it. And Michael could be that guy. But if you're in a meeting and Michael's on vacation that week, or Michael's anywhere, and Michael's not available, Simon, you have to be in a position to say, I understand what you were talking about. And guess what? Let me get back to you because I do understand. And you have to get that feeling that you do understand, which means you got to understand. You can't fake these things. People look in your eye and say, wait a minute, why the month of June, the income is lower than it has been for the past 6 months? The income should be pretty much the same every month, right?
Yep.
Okay. And Simon, you have to go back there and say something simple. You're going to have to be able to say, well, guess what? The reason why is because, we do have some delinquencies, okay? But guess what we have? We have a system. We have a policy in place that we're going to go after that money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what's going on.
Yes. So now since Simon is feeling more confident, okay, about his job, and it goes back to the we. So now Simon is backing it up. Michael and the whole board acting together collectively.
Yeah. And I hope that Simon has gotten an appreciation, maybe not memorize the numbers. Is unit number 13 5 months or 9 months behind? And does that mean 13,000 or 15,000? I don't know, but something like that. And so you can say there is this one unit that is way behind, but the good news is they've posted it for sale. And so when it sells, then we'll get that money back from escrow, all this kind of stuff. Have just a working knowledge of what's going on. And then the working knowledge of every board member should know what's happening with their insurance premiums, what's happening with their reserve funding. Are we ready or not? Are we looking at trouble or are we making progress? And just that working knowledge. And again, it comes back to having multiple people being able to cover for each other, because what if Michael breaks his leg and or is in the hospital for a month? You want someone else to be able to cover for and be able to talk it through. And then I was thinking about from the owner point of view also, the board members want to have an understanding and that clarity. For a larger association, might it be a good idea to have an open budget meeting once a year so everyone gets to see the numbers? And you can share the numbers around at that point in time and say, this is our budget for the year. Notice that our delinquencies are nice and low at 2.5%. Whatever things are, can you go further to be proactive and be open and share numbers with the owners also?
That's exactly what it is. Because again, if we're looking at through that distorted lenses and we don't have trust, what's the best way to say, trust, here are the numbers. Yeah. We're open, we're transparent. Here are the numbers, look at them. And again, one thing I have to remember too, this is important. It doesn't mean they're not going to be mad at you and not going to sue you or make a claim against you. Because that's the problem, is that most people are afraid that if we do this and they see it, guess what's going to happen? We may get sued, we may get yelled at, may not like it. And that is the problem, because yes, they may not like it. They may not like the fact that you got to wait until unit number 11 sells the unit to get your money back. They may say, no, you should be doing it more. You should have a better collection policy. You should have this and this. And they still may be mad at you. But you're going to say that, listen, our policy is what it is, and we're okay with it, and be okay with it, and not panic, because if you get sued, you want to make sure that you have liability insurance to protect you for your suit. And if you have a defensible position. And if you don't have liability insurance, you want to have a defensible position that, guess what? We followed the rules based on the documents tell us to do. We have a collection policy, and we are implementing our collection policy. Here's our policy. Do you have any questions on our policy? Well, we don't agree. That's okay. You don't have to agree. We understand that you're not going to agree to everything we have to say, but we're okay. Well, my lawyer will contact you tomorrow. That's okay. We're doing our job the way we are supposed to do it. We're having our board meeting, and we're treating our board meetings as a board meeting, not a social club. We're not talking about what's going on Netflix. We're not talking about did we see what's playing the movie. It's a business meeting, and we're talking about the finances. And guess what? Here are the numbers right here. We're totally transparent.
Yeah, the whole idea that there is a growing amount of distrust, and you need to be prepared for that. And just as you were saying, someone threatening to sue you, that may be an idle threat. It may be a real threat, but if you're well defended, then it's a non-issue. Absolute non-issue. Maybe you can get ahead of that with committees. Maybe you can get ahead of that with an open meeting. But, Kevin, let's say you are Simon. What are Simon's steps to figure this out? Does he say, hey, Michael, can you take me to coffee and we go through this? Or can I meet you before the board meeting next month? And can you remind me, please be patient with me, but can you remind me which one's which and what they all tell me? Is that how it starts?
That's it. And the key thing is make sure Simon, you got to make sure you understand that Michael understands his job. But just give him benefit that he's probably a CPA or accountant, something like that. And you're going to have to be patient with Michael also, because we don't want to treat Michael like he is dishonest. Because the easiest thing to do is to say, we say at the end of this, our podcast, right? Simon hears that, I have a problem. We have a distorted lens. I got to find what Michael's doing here. And he goes to Michael, I know what you're doing. Now, all of a sudden, Michael's starting to feel, attacked. And Michael's starting to feel defensive. Yeah. So, Simon, whatever you do, don't attack Michael. Sit down with him like you're saying. Let's talk ahead of time because I need to understand these things. I heard this podcast. I got to understand it because there is a cost involved. I need to understand. But make sure you don't put Michael in a defensive position because now all of a sudden, Michael's going to worry about it. Now, if Michael's in a defensible position, you got to be careful because why he's in a defensible position too, So there's a lot to it.
Yeah, but build the we of us being on the board. Help me so we can present this. Someone asked me at the pool yesterday, how are we doing? And frankly, I don't know. And I don't like being in a position where I say, I don't know. And isn't that what we're talking about here?
And Simon, go back to episode 110 to get a basic understanding of the financials. That's probably the best thing that Simon can do because the basic understanding gives you that appeal that you are competent. Because at the end of the day, if you are a unit owner and you're looking at an increase in your assessments or special assessment, the first thing you're going to do is question their authority, their competency, their honesty. I mean, if they don't communicate it why it's needed well enough. Again, they go back to communication and transparency and openness. If they don't do it well enough, my only option is to distrust. And once I distrust, it's hard to get that back. So the key to the whole conversation we're having right now is to understand the world is different. We're living in a world where we have difficulty trust issues. We all have trust issues right now because we don't trust our government. We don't trust the people leading it. We just don't have trust in institutions overall. And we got our board, they're not communicating. Yes.
Yeah. Where's Walter Cronkite when we need him? Someone
exactly.
just to tell me what the truth is and we go home.
But now there's so many truths out there because everybody has their own, podcasts out there who give us their version of the truth. Best thing we can do is be open, transparent, and communicate.
Yeah. Well, you've also said trust the process and work the process. I'm assuming that you have a good process at your association. Whether it be collections, whether it be getting the information, and then standing behind your policies. This is how we do things here. Obviously, if it's a dated and ineffective policy, update it. Talk to your attorney about that. But what about, and we skipped right over this, what if you get to the board meeting? Two things. One is, what if you're getting your financial information late? And when you get your financial information, it's not right. I think fundamentally you got to fix that problem. And there are companies like 110 was Russell, wasn't it? Russell from Community Financials?
Yeah, that was him. Yeah, that was him. Yes.
There's companies like that.
Yep.
That's all they do, and they are good at doing it because board members do need to have accurate numbers to make decisions based on. So solve your problem of if you're not getting good information, accurate information in a timely manner in time to prepare for your meeting so you know what you're all talking about, you got to fix that problem. But otherwise, do talk about it. Be the we. Is that where we're at?
And go back to honesty,
Okay.
If you don't have it, you got to admit that, guess what? We just got it earlier today. We haven't got a chance to review them yet. But when we review them, we'll get back to you. Okay. Honesty. We saw some irregularities. Guess what? We're going to find out and get back to you on it. Okay. So honesty matter, because when you're honest with people, okay, they can feel your honesty. If you say, listen, we don't know right now because we've got these reports in and we haven't had a chance to review them properly. The board meeting, we got them an hour ago, and it's just unusual to get them an hour. We usually get them 2 weeks in advance or a week in advance, whatever it is. They're consistent. Now, if it's not consistent and you always get them in an hour, say, guess what? This is our last time we get them an hour ahead of time. For now on, we want them X days ahead of time.
Yeah. It could be could be as simple as there's a new admin at the management company and that person sent you the financials for the wrong association.
Exactly.
And then it was like,
yeah.
This is a 120 unit association and we're 13 units. And, glad we don't have their problems. Well, Kevin, as always, it's great talking with you. It's fun. It's informative. Any closing thoughts to add at this time?
I think we let out a lot of good information. I think when I concluded by communication, openness, transparency, those are the things that keep again, as we say all the time, keep the temperature down. Our job is not to elevate the temperature like with the people who are in civil. We got to say, okay, let's just do our jobs in the best way we can. And guess what happens? If we get sued, we're okay because we have a defensible position. That's all we want to make sure you have.
I like that. And you don't have to be an expert, but to have a working understanding of the financials at your association. Are things going up? Things going down? And what are your problems that you need to solve? Well, we hope you learned some HOA insights from our discussion today that helps you bring common sense to your common areas. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to bringing many more episodes to you week after week after week. We'll be here, and it'll be great to have you join us on a regular basis. Spread the word.
You've been listening to HOA Insights, common sense for common areas. If you like the show and want to support the work that we do, you can do so in a number of ways. The most important thing that you can do is engage in the conversation. Leave a question in the comments section on our YouTube videos. You can also email your questions or voice memos to podcast@reservestudy.com or leave us a voicemail at 805-203-3130. If you gain any insights from the show, please do us a huge favor by sharing the show with other board members that you know. You can also support us by supporting the brands that sponsor this program. Please remember that the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the hosts and guests, with the goal of providing general education about the community association industry. You'll want to consult licensed professionals before making any important decisions. Finally, this podcast was expertly mixed and mastered by Stokelight Video and Marketing. With Stokelight on your team, you'll reach more customers with marketing expertise that inspires action. See the show notes to connect with Stokelight.